Jörget kívánok, hogy vagy, jó? Oh, goodness gracious. You know, I've got big news today. Really big news. And, hmm, yesterday, boy, that's good. Yesterday, I got a friend request on Facebook, and not that that's big news, mind you. I get friend requests all the time. And interestingly enough, 99% of my friends, they're not really friends, they're just people that I connect with on Facebook. But I haven't met 99% of my friends on Facebook. But anyway, so I get a friend request from somebody, and I always look because being a lonely middle-aged going on old age man, single, I'm very susceptible. I'm very susceptible to all of these young, beautiful, women with the lovely implants and the gorgeous hair and all that want to be my friend. And every now and then, every now and then, I'll get a friend request from one of these beautiful blonde bombshells or whatever it is. And it'll say something like three mutual friends. And I'm like, what? And I go and I look to see who the hell of my friends, who the hell of my friends befriended this man from Nigeria who's posing as a beautiful blonde bombshell from Miami Beach or something like that. But anyway, so I get a friend request, and every now and then I'll look at the request, and I'll see it might have 125 friends or whatever it is, and I glance at their profile. I glance at their profile, and if their profile seems innocent enough, they seem like a nice person, then I just accept them as a friend. Why not? And yesterday was one of those situations where I had a friend request, and the profile picture had I think a couple dogs or something like that. There was no profile picture of the individual, but there was a picture of a couple dogs, and I looked at the profile, and they live not too far from here, and from where I live. So I thought, okay, I'll accept them as a friend. And about 20 minutes later, I'm soaking in the jacuzzi, and I get a message on my phone on Facebook Messenger that says, "Thank you for accepting my friend request," something like that. And anyway, as the conversation evolved, as the conversation evolved, I learned a little bit more about this new friend, and this new friend was telling me that her and her husband are huge fans of me. They're big fans, and they moved. And they watched all my videos, and they loved the videos with my dad, and they moved down here from Pittsburgh, up there, and I think in Pennsylvania they call it Pittsburgh, but up in Cleveland we call it Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. That those are our rivals, the Browns and what Browns and the Steelers, which are on tomorrow night, by the way. Anyway, so we're talking and talking, but well, we're going back and forth with these exchanges of messages, how they're such big fans and all that kind of stuff. And then she wrote, "My husband and I would love to meet you and take you to dinner." And I almost dropped the phone in the jacuzzi. I did. I almost dropped the phone in the jacuzzi. I thought, Skip Smith is the only one that gets these eat and greets. Or are they? No, not eat and greets. I think they're greet and eat. Greet, greet and eat. I don't know. Oh, no. They're greet and meats. They're greet and meats. The reason she's Anyway, I'll call it a greet and eat. But anyway, I'm always giving I'm always giving Skip Smith a hard time because he seems to go out to dinner. You know, people come down to the villages and take him and Sue out for lunch or dinner, probably several times a month. Um, and I always ask him, when am I going to get, when am I going to be famous like you, Skipper? When am I going to be famous? And have a fan take me to dinner, and it's happened. It's happened. Now I'm worried though, you see, because what if this is the start of something big? What if this is the start of something big, and I'm going to have people wanting to take me out to dinner or lunch all the time, you see, like Skip Smith. And what worries me about that is that I might get as big as Skip Smith. There go all the thumbs down right now, right? I might get a gut on me. I might get a big, big gut on me, like Skip Smith. And then I won't even be able to keep up with the C group in my Tuesday night taco ride, So that's what worries me about that's what worries me about this whole greet and eat thing, but we will see. But no, I got to tell you, it's very when somebody communicates to you, that they love my videos, or that they would be honored to meet me, and all that kind of stuff. I can deal with the you love my videos part of it, but the honored to meet me and all that kind of stuff. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing. There's absolutely not. There's nothing more special, anything more or less special about me than anybody watching this video. There's just. Hmm. And I'm glad that I reached that point in time in my life when I realized that I'm nothing more or less special than anybody else. But anyway, so that was but it always makes me a little bit uncomfortable when people bestow praises upon me, or what have you. But anyway. The other thing on my mind, I came home last night. My house has been focused on my home, as many of you know. And I'm just kind of really struggling with the whole living room thing, what to do. Should I hang the TV on the wall, or not hang the TV on the wall? Should I buy one of those, TV centers, one of those TV centers with the electric fireplace? Should I have a little electric fireplace for those cool Florida nights? You know, to bring just the right ambiance in there. Come out of the cool. It's never cold. Come out of the cool. I think it's Alexa. What's the temperature in Fort Myers?
Right now, in Fort Myers, Florida, it's 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, expect a high of 75 degrees.
64 and 75 today. But anyway, it's just something that I'm struggling with, and I need to focus on. I still need to focus on the little things before I tackle the whole living room issue. Yeah, I've had these people. Yesterday, I had multiple people reach out to me to rent my house on Airbnb for about $4,400 a month. And I got to tell you, it's tempting, but it's also just really tempting just to relax. Just to relax for a little bit. I mean, I've been on the go uh, for the last 2 or 3 years. Last year at this time, I was somewhere in Croatia. I was traveling for 3 months, only to come back for, I think, a couple months, and then head out on several months of road trip and what have you, and just sitting back and and relaxing and enjoying the nice weather and fixing up my home is something that is, quite welcome, to be honest with you. So anyway, there's another thing that's been going around my mind, and I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story, and a story is that one of my favorite things in life, or one of the things that's most special to me, it's the innocence of a child. The innocence and the purity of a child. Small children, they don't know the ways of the world, so to speak. They don't know the ways of the world. They don't know all about the haves and the have-nots, and they don't know about the liberals and the conservatives, and they don't know about the black and the black and the brown people and the red people and whatever. It's just that's something that I think a lot of us appreciate. It's just the innocence of a child, and just kind of blind, to the ways of the world. And personally, I'd like to think that my innocence ended rather late in life. Everything for me happens late in life, but my innocence happened late in life. And I say that because it happened on a plane. It happened on a plane from Cleveland, Ohio to San Francisco back in 1983. What would that be? 17 and 19, something like 36 years ago. 36 years ago, my innocence ended. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I'll tell you. Yeah, I went home. I went home. I was in the military. I was all of about 20 years old, maybe 19. And I went home for, I believe it was my brother's wedding, if I'm not mistaken. But I went home for a family event. I left home at the age of 18 and I joined the military. And and I went home for this family event, and I ran into this aunt that was at this event that I very seldom saw. She was on my dad's side of the family, and we weren't all that close with them. And she asked me what I was doing now, and I said I'm in the military. And she said, "Well, where are you stationed?" And I said, I'm stationed out in California." She said, "Oh, really? Whereabouts?" And I said, "San Francisco." And she looked at me and she had a big smile on her face and she said, "How is Uncle Steve?" I said, "Uncle who?" She said, "Uncle Steve. How's Uncle Steve doing? Do you get to see him often?" And I said, "Who's Uncle Steve?" And she said, "What?" And I said, "Aunt Marge," I said, "Who's Uncle Steve?" She said, "It's your dad's brother." And she said, "Ernie, you didn't tell Tom that he's got that your brother's out there in California?" And he said, "Oh, I forgot," or something like that. And she said, "Oh, you've got to look him up. He's in a little town called Santa Rosa. He's in a little town called Santa Rosa." And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And I think I flew out of town the next day. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. It's one of those things in life that you just never forget. And there I am flying out of Cleveland. I'm flying out of Cleveland and I'm flying out to California, and I'm looking out the window. And I'm finding myself thinking, how is that even possible? How is that even possible that I would be just a stone's throw from an uncle and not even know that he existed? I couldn't wrap my head around that. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. How that was even possible. And that was the end. That was the end of my innocence as to the ways of the world. You know, that was the end of my innocence as to the ways of the world. And I went back out there and I met Steve. I met Steve, and Steve, bless his heart, Steve embraced me, and Steve taught me. Interestingly enough, Steve taught me many of the ways, many of the things in life not to do, as opposed to many of the things in life to do. But Steve taught me many of the things not to do. But anyway, what made me think to share that story was I had a phone call yesterday. I had two phone calls yesterday. I don't talk about my family very often, but I've got a large family with 9 siblings. There's 4 girls and there's 6 boys. And of my sisters, one of my sisters has Down syndrome. She's an angel. She's an angel. And then I've got 3 other sisters. And I gotta tell you, you know what? As I've grown older, I've come to appreciate my 3 sisters and the relationship that they have with one another. They're like the Golden Girls. They are. They're like the Golden Girls. And I look at the 3 of them, and I just love and I cherish their relationship that they have with each other. They're very supportive of each other. They're very active in each other's lives. They communicate with each other, regularly, and they support each other and all that type of stuff. And and anyway, so yesterday I had phone calls from 2 of them. I had phone calls from 2 of them, and it's always nice when they think to call, and I'll call them sometime. Interestingly enough, of 9 siblings, I only have communication really with four of the 9. There's 5 that are out there that are just completely estranged, just completely estranged from me. And anyway, so my sister called, and we started talking about various things, and the conversation started talking about aging. This sister just turned 60, and the conversation just started turning about talking about aging and getting older, and and she just casually asked me if I have a will. And I said, no, I don't have a will. And she said, well, you should have a will. And I said, I know, but she said, oh my gosh, if something happened to you, if whatever, then what would happen? I mean, where would everything go? And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know where it would go. I don't have a will. And anyway, so the whole conversation kind of turned to, who would I leave my stuff to? Who would I leave my stuff to? She said, well, maybe you have a favorite niece or a favorite nephew or something like this. And I found myself thinking about that. And number one, I don't know how many nieces and nephews I have. Number two, the overwhelming majority of the nieces and nephews that I have, I couldn't even tell you their names. I couldn't even tell you their names. It's just one of those things in life that it's just one of those things in life that you just wonder about. But anyway, so we started talking about all this stuff as to my situation in life and what have you. And I found myself thinking what really caught my attention, and I was really grateful for the conversation. I sent her a text afterward thanking her for the kind, caring thoughts. And I sent her a text afterwards, and I and expressed my gratitude. But the conversation really made me start thinking. I mean, she started talking about I should have a medical, I guess like a medical power of attorney. I should have somebody else on my bank accounts, all that type of stuff. And you know what? She's absolutely right. She's she's absolutely right. You go through life and you don't start to give serious thought to this stuff until either you start building up an estate or you start getting older or what have you. And being alone, that even I think further magnifies the importance of it. But anyway, so hmm, that's that. That was the I guess the bottom line is, is blood thicker than water? They say that. They say blood is thicker than water. And I look at my estate and I look at my situation, and my estate is nothing to sneeze at. It's not. It's nothing in comparison to a lot of the other people that live down here in this community. Uh, Yesterday I was talking to this old guy from Brooklyn, I think. A wonderful man, just a wonderful, wonderful man named Bill. And Bill's probably in his, I'd guess, his early to mid 70s. Very well-to-do man. He said he owns a 700 square foot studio in Manhattan that he rents for 2,000 a month. But Bill and I were talking a little bit about money, and Bill is one of those matter-of-fact people, and he says, "I don't need any more money." He said, "At this point in time in my life, I don't need any more money." He said, "I don't want to lose money, but I don't need any more money." He said, "If you want to give me $1 million, I said, I'll gladly take it." He said, "But I don't need it, you know." He said, "I just don't," he said, at this point in time in my life, I just want to hang on to what I've got, you know. And for me, the thought of, who I should leave my money to, am I obligated? Am I obligated to leave some or all of what I have to somebody that I don't even know their name, somebody that never calls me, somebody that never sends a Christmas card, somebody that whatever. I mean, it's like I would rather, to be quite honest with you, I would rather leave my entire estate to a nice charity or something like that, where I know it's going to do a lot of good. But anyway, so it's an interesting thought. It's a really, really interesting thought. A lot of people, as they age, they have a harder time with the aging process, and they have a harder time with the aging process, and they just keep putting that stuff off, But anyway, another thought on my mind today, another thought on my mind that's quite interesting. Try to wrap your head around this. When you lose somebody, you like to think that they're still with you. That their soul is still with you. That you can just talk to them and what have you, and they're there. And I find myself thinking about that sometime. I find myself thinking about that. That if people are still with me, you gotta wonder if they can't kind of look into your world from the hereafter. They say they're with you. Does that mean that they can see everything that you do? Even the things that you shouldn't be doing, or the things that don't want anybody to know that you're doing? Can these people that you've left, these people that have left you and have passed on, their spirit is their spirit is with you. Does that mean that they know? Does my dad know that I'm standing here in my bathrobe, in the kitchen, talking to the phone, or the computer, as he would say it? Does he know that? And if he knows that, what else does he know about what I'm doing? I mean, it's like, I don't know if it's like, all these souls that have left us, are they like peeping toms into our world, and what have you. And, sometimes I wonder if that's the case, if that's the case, that, those that have left us have the ability to there must be rules of engagement. God probably doesn't, God, I think that God would probably respect our privacy a little bit. I mean, you don't have all these souls out there, being peeping toms into our lives. I mean, God's got to have some type of rules of engagement or something like that, with these souls, as far as coming back and being with us in spirit, so to speak. But but anyway, oh, Mark's trying to wrap his head around that right now. But but anyway, I in all seriousness, I think about that. One other thing that saddens me a little bit is that my father, rest his soul, his greatest pride and joy was the family. That was it. His pride and joy, was the family. And he wouldn't be talking to somebody for more than 30 seconds, a complete stranger, before he'd pull out the family picture, and he'd say, "This is my family," you know. And I can't help but to wonder if my dad, rest his soul, is more is if he's here with us in spirit, if the estrangement of my family, you know, doesn't break his heart. If it doesn't break his heart, I mean, when he was, I think that when he was here, he knew, that this sibling didn't talk to this sibling that much or whatever. But now that he's gone, and he has the ability to be with us, now I think that he's more aware of the situation, or more conscientious of the estrangement, if you will. And as much as he loved his family, it probably breaks his heart, to know that, to know that some of his children are just so estranged from one another, that they're not even, that they're just not a part of one another's lives, and what have you. But you would think that when it comes to family, you go through life and you have differences in life with people all the time. I mean, it's, yeah, and being family, you're no different than any, relationships within a family, really, are no different between, relationships outside of family. But the difference being is that you're family. You're family. And if you're family and you can't overcome your differences, there's something wrong with that. If you're family, then, whatever the difference is, you should be able to put aside differences. You should be able to, find forgiveness in your heart. You should be able to overlook the you should be able to overlook the strange uncle that stands in his bathrobe in his kitchen every morning and does a morning talk show on YouTube. You should be able to overlook that stuff, and reconcile your differences, and embrace one another. But anyway, hmm, that's about the extent that you'll hear me talk about my family. And interestingly enough, my dad used to say, Ann and I raised 10 kids, and they all turned out all right. And there's a lot of truth to that statement. If you take each and every one of my siblings individually and just look at them as a person, each and every one of my siblings is a really, really wonderful person. I mean, wonderful fathers, wonderful mothers, uh, and what have you. Just individually, the my mom and dad did such a great job raising us kids. It's just a collective whole. It's just a collective whole that is the problem. But who knows? Maybe one day, maybe one day the barriers or the walls will come down. Just like President Reagan told Gorbachev to tear down those walls. Maybe the walls that separate some of myself and some of my siblings from one another will come down. Anyway, that's about it, folks. That's about it for the day. Time to get on with my day. And I see there were some comments here. I'm kind of curious to know who is sharing their thoughts here. She is correct. You do need to think about this will issue. Good morning, Tom. I'm sure Skip Smith would love to be the recipient. We get our redone recently. We got our will done recently, but more decisions than what I remember. So I'm not even sure who that is. Where's Romania? So anyway, that's about it, folks. And it started on with another day. And as I wrap up the video, I've learned my lessons. Life is an ongoing lesson. You just learn. You make your mistakes. You make your mistakes in life, and just as it's important to be forgiving of other people, it's equally important to be forgiving of yourself. And I've made my mistakes over life. Over the years, and doing the videos and what have you. It's become a process. You grow into this and you learn. And I try not to. I've learned from the past to try to get to try not to get too personal insofar as others when I do my my thoughts and feelings with others when I do my videos, and to be respectful of their privacy. I haven't always done that. I have not always done that, and that's unfortunate, because it's cost me some relationships. It's cost me some relationships that I wish that it hadn't. And but anyway, that's about it. Alexa, what's the question of the day?
Good morning. Here is today's question of the day. The topic is general knowledge. It is worth 9 points. Knowledge. Someone who is a Lusophone has which characteristic? You can choose from A, hears very high pitches, B, plays the euphonium, C, speaks Portuguese, or D, communicates only by telephone.
Repeat, please.
Okay, here is the question again. Someone who is a Lusophone has which characteristic? You can choose from A, hears very high pitches, B, plays the euphonium, C, speaks Portuguese, or D, communicates only by telephone.
Communicates only by telephone.
Excellent guess, but that's not correct.
A.
The correct answer was C, speaks Portuguese. Lusophones are people around the world that speak the Portuguese language.
What?
The word Lusophone derives from the Latin word for Lusitania, or modern Portugal. It mirrors similar words such as francophone for French speakers.
Oh, goodness gracious. Maybe I should go to Portugal again. Maybe I should rent my house for 3 months and just go get a place in that little tiny town. That little tiny town down in the south of Portugal, where those people hang out at the cafe every night. Those expats hang out at the cafe every night and jam with a violin and a guitar and a cello and what have you, drinking their beer. But maybe that's what I should do. Or maybe I should go back to Zagreb and go back to the big castle. Remember when I was at that castle and there was that woman that was selling that lovely lady that was selling her hand knit stuff, and she was just quite the character. I think about her every now and then, interestingly enough. But all right. So have a great day, everyone. All right. Take good care.